This is Matt Russell, and welcome to the Daily FX Forum.
So here are the four pairs that I will be discussing this evening: the Euro Pound, the Aussie Kiwi, the Pound Swiss, the Euro Swiss, as well as the Euro Aussie. So let's go ahead and pull up the charts. The first chart is the Euro Pound. If you recall, during yesterday's report, I was mentioning the potential for an inverted head and shoulder pattern, but I also mentioned how I want to give it another 24 hours. I'm glad I did that because prices kind of blew right through that analysis as well. So moving forward now, I like this line right here, which is about the 88.40 area. The only thing is that the move downward has been a little bit impulsive, and the fact that prices didn't really respect this line at all. Again, I'm going to give this another 24 hours or so and wait for at least signs of this line acting as support, but I would right now have a tentative bullish bias against that 88.40 area. The next chart is the Aussie Kiwi. If you recall, during yesterday's report, I was mentioning the potential support line near the 24.30 area. Prices actually came down to about 24.44. That's actually early in today's session. So that's what I like to see. I like to see at least some short-term confirmation here of that area, that general area acting as support. So I might right now look to enter long 24.60 with a stop at 23.90. So that's a 70 pips of risk. Again, that's long 24.60 with a stop at 23.90. What I like here is the potential for a nice symmetric pattern shaping up here and possibility of a head and shoulder pattern forming, or at least the market might try to do that, which would mean a rally up to that 26.74 area. Of course, anything can happen, so be prepared if you enter for prices to move immediately against you and to get stopped out. The next chart is the Pound Swiss, and not much has changed here. Again, this is just the inverse of the Euro Pound chart, but actually we've had some movement in the Euro Swiss, so that inverse correlation might not be as correlated, if you will, over the next coming sessions, but that's something we'll have to work out. I would just be on the sidelines with this pair. Speaking of which, the next chart is the Euro Swiss, and if you were in that trade short from 51.25, you exited. Again, I was saying to put limit orders in at 50.75, so that's a 50 pip short trade, and we could see prices actually completely fell apart after that happened. And again, that's just part of trading. That's another emotion that you have to deal with. So moving forward now, what I'm looking at is the potential for that 50 figure to act as resistance now on the opposite side. So right now, prices 149.46. We might look over the next 24 to 48 hours for prices to come up and retest that 150 figure. We might look to enter short at 149.90 with a stop at 150.40. Again, that's short 149.90 with a stop at 150.40. So that's a 50 pip stop. The next chart is the Euro Aussie, and not much has changed here. Again, I missed that double bottom by about 20 pips down here, but moving forward now, I've applied Fibonacci levels, and now prices actually made a new high during yesterday's session, so I have to readjust those fib levels. I do want to get in on the long side at some point. I'm just looking for favorable risk-to-reward entries, and I do have the fib levels up, so this is something that I'm just going to monitor over the, let's say, next few days or so, looking to see if I can get favorable candlestick patterns at any of the major fib levels at this point. But again, that's something I will update in the coming reports. Again, my name is Matt Russell. Thanks for listening, and please stay tuned for a preview of the Daily FX Forum. I want to take this opportunity to formally welcome you all to the Daily FX Forums. I want to go through the process of how I personally access the forums and how maybe you at home, if you want to access the forums in the future, might do so. The first thing you would do is go to www.dailyfx.com, and that will bring up, obviously, dailyfx.com, and usually there on the upper right hand corner I'll go ahead and click on where it says forum, and that will bring up the first page of the forums. And this view, I personally don't use this view, but this view actually shows you the most recent posts on all the threads within the different sections, and a little detail about those posts, so you can read through and see if there's something catches your interest. But personally, I go ahead and just click on forums and view them in the more traditional sense. Now, these are different threads within the forum. There's a section on education, such as Daily FX course instructor tips, which would be good for newer traders, and then for more advanced traders. And I just want to go ahead, personally, the way I use the forums is I would go through the individual threads, just looking for trade ideas, maybe looking at charts, looking at certain lines that maybe I didn't put up on my chart, but another trader might have put up on their chart. I tend to, shy away from using direct trade recommendations from other forum members, but it helps me to sort of even out my analysis, make sure that I'm seeing things you know, with the right mind in terms of, you know, I might be missing stuff that other traders can see. And that's, you know, my personal way of using the forum. You know, every trader is going to be a little bit different in how they use it. So if you want to ask questions, if you want to become an active participant of the members, you would have to go ahead and register. So that's what I'm going to go through now, is the registration process. So assuming you're brand new to the forums, or maybe you've been here a few times and you're not really sure how it works, so I just want to walk through again the registration process. This would be the front page where you would access, or the previous page. You'd have the same little box here on the left hand side. My username and password are already filled out here, but assuming you're a new member, you would click on where it says register, and that will bring up the registration page. If you give me one moment here while my browser loads. And actually first we're going to have some terms of service and DailyFX forum rules. I do suggest reading through the forum rules. Obviously, you know, profanity and spam and things like that are not allowed, but it also gives you insight on, you know, how to use the forum and how different traders can use it, you know, in terms of their individual needs. So you would go down to the bottom there, you'd click on where it says I have read all the rules, and then you would go ahead to the register, the formal registration page, and that will bring up here. And you can go ahead and select the username, and how about we'll use 4x, and that name is already in use, so maybe add a few more x's there. Again, it really, you know, your individual username is up to you, and you go ahead and fill in your password, your email address. Now, the most difficult aspect of registration for the DailyFX forums will be figuring out these letters in the box here. Now, I'm a semi-intelligent person, but I have a very difficult time figuring out which letters and numbers to use. Now, there is a reason for this madness. It helps with security, but I would suggest just going ahead and keep on clicking that refresh image until something comes through that you can actually identify and see. Then you can go ahead and enter your birthday, but you can decide whether or not to display that to other forum members. And then also, if you were referred by somebody, you can enter that information there. The time zone, that should default to your computer, but you should, you know, double check and make sure. And then you can opt in, and I would, you know, suggest opting in for these emails in terms if the administrators want to go ahead and send you some notices about the forum, and then you would complete registration. Now what happens is they would send you an email to the email address that you put up here, and that email will include a link, and all you would have to do is go ahead and click on that link, and that link will bring you inside the forum, and you would now be a member of the DailyFX forums. Again, this is Matt Russell. Thanks for listening.